Come on, baby, hold together. It's gonna work. It's gonna work. Oh. Hey, Dan. I wonder why I can't see the logo. Let's try another logo. Hey, Dan, can you see anything on the screen, or is it just all black? It's kind of weird. I had to say something. I had to say something.
Our cameras are not working? Is that what it is?
Well, it's not only that. Hey, Gene. Looks like we're live, but I've got no image on my end. Gene, do you see any image on your end? Do you see the show logo? That's weird. Well, that's what we can see, but I don't know. This is what they're seeing.
No.
Oh, what was that? I don't know. You got Jimmy, can you see him? How many fingers is he holding up? Okay, well, I guess it's just not showing up in our thing, so I'm gonna trust that it's working. Uh-oh. For some reason I don't have a hat on.
No, you don't.
Alright.
That's good.
Alright.
You think you got us now?
I don't know. Yeah, it looks like it. Gene can see us. That's all that really matters. So I'm sure it's working. It looks like just our interface from the Facebook isn't showing us what we're broadcasting. But
Okay, I hope I didn't.
it's okay, man. That's what happens when you do live.
That's right.
And your modern technology,
No,
which is what we do twice a week these days. 4 o'clock, as you can see, the logo shows. We do this right here. Also, I'll post a timestamp copy up on YouTube right after this. It is the 28th of July, 2019.
There we go. Sunday.
That's it.
That's right, Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, well, what's in the news, do you think? Racism!
That's right.
I mean, everything. It is, let me tell you something.
Well, I think it's getting a little played out. It's
No, au contraire. This is great. Now, I've got a couple things here.
Played out.
Oh, I just think it's great fun. Let me tell you what happens here is that I've got a whole bunch of stuff here, but I really should get to the racism part right off the bat here. Let me just see here. Let me just see here if I've got the particular thing. Okay, this is where Trump called a lawmaker to clean up his district.
Sounds racist to me.
Of course it does. It turns out, of course, coincidentally, he happens to be black, an African American.
You say coincidentally.
Coincidentally. I don't know if Trump knew that or not, but he basically said, before you start complaining and bitching and moaning about the border problems, maybe you ought to go take a look at your own district, Mr. Millionaire person representing, a shithole place, Baltimore.
Now,
Yeah.
Baltimore. And that's close to your old stomping ground.
That's right. Well, it used to be, actually, it was interesting. Even when I was growing up there, Baltimore was like, it was like 40 miles away or something from the district, I think.
Okay.
And, but no, we didn't go there much. It was, not a really great place to go.
Did you bother to go on Google Maps and drop the little man around there and scroll around and see what it looked like or anything?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
But it turns out that Bernie Sanders, of course, toured the place and said it was says it was crap, third world country.
That was years.
I know, it was years ago. It was months. It was days ago.
That's right.
Days ago in ancient history.
Well, and look, how long has Cummings been representative there?
30 years. I mean, he's played the race card everything. His district is about a little over half African American, and yeah, believe it or not, and and it only includes part of Baltimore, but it's interesting that right away, racists, and everybody has jumped on the bandwagon and decided to call Trump a racist. What are things?
Well, you didn't see him saying that to Nancy Pelosi.
What, that she was a racist?
No, that she should clean up her district.
Oh, well, yeah, I don't know about that.
Oh, wait, yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did, right. Yeah. But I think...
That's because he's sexist in her case.
That's right, sexist, that's right. Or ageist.
Misogynist.
She's old. Yeah.
Right.
But the thing about it is this is brilliant.
Okay.
Brilliant on Trump's part.
Okay.
What he's done is he's kind of distracted everybody onto this thing, and he's stirring up the nest.
Okay.
And he's making them all really angry. I mean, now they are starting to band together, and they really want to impeach him. If they try and impeach him, he's automatically won 2020.
You think?
Oh, no question. No question. They are self-destruct.
You think an impeach and a fail in the Senate was worse than a no?
No, it's an impeach and fail in the House.
Oh, you don't think they'll even get it out of the House? I don't
think they get it out of the House. But even if they did, then it's a fail in the Senate.
Okay.
And my point is, this huge monster distraction is going to divide the Democrat Party right down the middle. I mean, seriously, this is going to be all over the place.
Progressives versus the
moderates or whatever else you want to call it. I mean, people are going to be choosing sides. This is the monster distraction. I think what he's doing, if it were me in Trump, what he's doing is he's pissing them off so much that they're just going to say, okay, we're going to impeach. That's it. We're going to file for impeachment. I think they've already started to file for it, but he's really decided to, really ramp it up. And
well, like we talked about before, his favorite thing to do is to push their button.
Absolutely, and I mean this is the ultimate button push.
Well, it goes right to the district.
I mean, it goes right to it. And the Baltimore Sun, everybody is coming out and saying what a fine place Baltimore. And
this also, I think. I mean, look, I'm not going to give him that much credit.
Really?
Yeah, okay. I'm not, but I think it also plays a good hand for him in that it further flushes out the race argument.
Yeah.
That is to say, if they're going to claim racism on this kind of an argument, that basically means, as people have suggested, that if you criticize someone who's black or whatever,
tannish, even if you are the 1/16th, whatever it is,
right, or
racist.
That's right. But see, that won't fly.
You don't think so?
No, because it's just intuitively wrong. Everybody just knows that's unfair.
Well, you should have seen the comments.
Well, I know, and you're going to see it from some quarters for sure, but it's just on its face over the top. But
it is. There's no question. So anyway, he said he called the guy a brutal bully. This was Cummings.
Yeah, that's because he was yelling at the TSA guys.
Right.
And he was totally denigrating them. And
yeah, he was. And he said, he should clean up his disgusting rat and rodent infested Baltimore district and so forth. So anyway, they've really doubled down on this racist thing. Those people, a lot of those people.
Yeah. But what's interesting is it took the sales out of last week's racism comment. I mean, right off the front page, gone.
Really?
Yeah, you don't even remember what it was. It's the...
See, I've forgotten already.
Yeah, exactly. Against the 4 girls or whatever.
Oh, right. The squad.
Yeah, and so just...
The squad's got to up their game. They want to get back on the front page.
Oh, they'll be fine.
They'll do something right. It said in one of the city has struggled with violent crime with more than 300 homicides for 4 years running in a row, and of course it's under the police department's been under federal oversight.
I think it's totally fair to call a congressman out for the condition of their district, especially, as you said, when they've been there for 30 years in some sort of power situation.
I don't know if this is fake news or not, but apparently he's made some money off this stuff. He apparently lives pretty well.
Who hasn't?
Yeah,
what congressman hasn't made millions of dollars upon leaving office?
So anyway, the Gainesville, not the Gainesville Sun, could have been the Gainesville Sun, the Baltimore Sun wrote an editorial And he says, we would tell the most dishonest man ever to occupy the Oval Office, the mocker of war heroes, the gleeful grabber of women's private parts, the social bankrupter of businesses.
Now notice every one of these things is a he is thing. It's a he is
right.
thing. Not a he does thing, not a this act. You know, it's all about who he
Useful idiot of Vladimir Putin.
Right.
And the guy who insisted there are good people among the murderous neo-Nazis.
Right.
And of course, that trope, every time you bring that up.
We've said it.
I know, we've said it 100 times. And Sam, not Sam, but Adams, what's his name?
Scott Adams.
Scott Adams, debunked that every time. You can't debunk it enough, I guess. I don't know, they're still doing it. So anyway, they ended the editorial with, better to have some vermin, I don't know what this is about, have some vermin living in your neighborhood than to be one. What? What does that mean?
He's calling him a vermin.
I guess, but better to have vermin living in your neighborhood? I mean, what? What are you talking? Who wrote this? So senior politicians, by the way, have this. Not the little politicians. The senior politicians are denouncing Trump as a racist. So anyway,
top politicians.
Top politicians. The senior. Nadler has also said
we haven't heard that before.
And racist, yeah. Speaking of rodents, California is being overrun by rodents. And we're not talking about the politicians. California is being a plague of rats. Interesting, there's 2 plagues recently. Did you see the one in Las Vegas?
Yes, the plague of locusts.
Locusts! I mean, this is, the Lord has decided.
Yeah, or they were grasshoppers, yeah.
Whatever, the whole point. Let me tell you.
Whatever.
Okay, I'm sorry. You get somebody, there's not
flying bugs.
Large flying bugs,
right,
okay?
Exactly.
And you can say, I mean, I don't know what it is, but I saw the pictures of it. I mean, literally, they were coated down the doors of the casinos. How do you get in? I mean, how do you walk around? You're coated down with these things. I like to play a little blackjack.
That's it. You just brush yourself off a little.
My God.
They're friendly enough.
Oh, yeah. Well, they don't bite, but the rodents do. Anyway, so California is being a plague of rats, and there are millions of them, and the more poison people put out, it seems that they multiply. It's interesting because rats are smart. You know that we've talked about a little bit. They're really smart. What I like about this is the rodents in California. They're in Los Angeles, and they're talking about changing the name to Los Ratas, which is the rats. But as I've discussed previously, under ideal conditions, which apparently there are, rats can multiply rapidly. In fact, it's been estimated that 2 healthy rats could potentially become 482 million in 3 years. That is a lot
pretty
of
ideal
rats.
conditions. Yeah, look, where there's food, there's going to be rats, and apparently the tent city situation is pretty bad.
Yeah.
There. Now, I did take my little Google man and drop him around Venice Beach and sort of...
Oh, did you?
Yeah, poke around, and I was looking for tents and stuff, and I didn't see much.
Really?
Now, I don't know how old maybe those images are more than 2 years old or whatever. Apparently, it's just been the last couple of years that the population has really ballooned. But I couldn't find tents where all the places that I went. I mean, they were the normal. You can go to Venice Beach anytime.
Yeah.
And you can drop your little guy right there on the boardwalk and walk down the boardwalk, and it's just person sleeping outside after homeless person after what. I mean, who knows? It's every different kind, and there are tents there. But those are just the normal tents. I didn't see anything excessive.
What is it? The normal tents are kind of old and ratty. The new tents are something.
Well, I mean, just the normal number.
Okay.
A couple of tents here, a couple of tents there. It wasn't tent after tent after tent after tent, which you see in only certain places. I would imagine. At least that's what I was expecting. I was wondering whether or not it was everywhere now, or whether if I could go on Santa Monica Boulevard or Wilshire Boulevard and see tents all up and down. No, they're not there. At least not on the Google Maps.
Okay, now, but this is L.A. Why didn't you run up to San Francisco?
Because I was just checking out L.A.
Okay, good.
Now, in terms of the rats, snakes.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's the cure. Wait, stop it right. the Pied Piper guy
That's
in
it.
Ireland, he led the snakes out, right?
That's
I
it.
guess he needs to lead them in.
That's what you do.
Now we have snakes in Florida.
See, now we're talking.
Now we're
cooking with
talking.
gas.
We
This is,
we should put
a
this
few
on.
female pythons. I wonder how quickly they can become 200 million snakes.
Boy, isn't that the truth? Can you imagine them slithering all over? Boy, I'll tell you, it wouldn't take long, would it?
Probably not.
I mean, and the beauty is, you don't have to get the big pythons, the 16-footers.
Well, what difference would it make? It would be fine if you did. They could eat them up quick. And
Yeah, that's true.
and they're harmless to humans. There's no, and then of course after they ate all the rat populations, they would just die.
How about
Because
dogs and stuff?
what?
When they start eating all your dogs?
No, there's no dogs in L.A. You get little tiny ones.
Yeah.
I mean,
munch.
well, I mean, you wouldn't be letting Fifi
And how about
out.
and you certainly not going to put your toddler out in the yard. You can imagine you put him in one of those little cage thing, with and then you come out and there's this giant snake in there. And where's my toddler? Yeah, so that's
He's in there still.
yeah, just well hidden. Okay, so anyway, the other thing about Trump on my list here, Trump's next target is food stamp recipients. This came out. I'm sure it's racist, but again. On Tuesday, the Trump administration announced plans to throw 3 million of the most vulnerable Americans off food stamps, claiming it's a money-saving move. Now, one of the things that you have to realize is that in the last 10 years, the number of people on food stamps has doubled.
Now, I have seen that, but that being said, it's actually
from 20 million to 40 million.
right. Well, but it has come down since like 2011 or 12.
Really?
Yes.
No, I don't believe it.
No, I've got the graphs. I can pull them right here.
Okay.
It spiked up to 2011, and there was a huge run up, and then Obama started cutting back, and it's cut back. It's been cut back.
I thought there were 48 million people on food stamps.
Let's see, 17% or something. It could be.
But I'm pretty sure there's well over 40 million on food stamps.
Okay.
And so we're going to cut 3 million. It's not even 10%.
Right.
Well, you've got to figure that. Then there might even be possibly a means test for this. But what I'm saying is, the way this headline reads is they're going to be 3 million people starving in the streets, and I say let them eat rats.
Yeah, exactly. Or pythons that ate rats. Well, what you got to ask yourself is, I guess, let's see what this is. Yeah, here we go. Annual food stamps benefits paid. Well, this is overall amounts. Started to come down about 2012 from 76 billion down to 61 billion.
In dollars.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And you're right. I mean, so we're talking about 3 million people. We're talking about $5 billion worth of things. But for those,
Balance the budget.
yeah, well, exactly. For those people, though, they are out in the streets, so to speak. I mean, they are. That's oops, I put that right over your head. Now people can see it. They are out in the streets. I mean, those particular people. This is curious to me because Trump just spent $45 billion on the military, $55 billion on programs for the Democrats, and now he wants to cut $5 billion, a measly $5 billion out of food stamps. Why wouldn't you just fund the crap out of everything? I mean, he thinks this is going to win people back on the conservative side or something?
Well, one of the things.
It sounds racist to me.
Racist, that's for sure.
What
No
else could he possibly... It can't be to save money, right?
No.
Why? I don't understand. This is weird. I mean, is he going to target, pediatric oncology next? I mean, what? How? Why?
Yeah, what about them?
Why? Those kids are spending a lot of money with those cancer treatments. I mean,
screw them.
well, you could save a few $1 billion, I'm sure. But think of the optics. I mean, that's what this is like. Why would he cut
the optics
food
are bad.
stamps?
There's no question, and it's
Mr. Gazillionaire.
But this is what they do. Again, I've said this so many times. Trump could walk out there and walk on water and cure cancer at the same time, and there's still everybody be screaming racist.
Well, but I mean, what I'm getting at is this is one of those things that why, but All right. I guess.
Well, I love this, but this is kind of a semi-op-ed piece. It's an astonishing statistic for one of the wealthiest nations on the planet. Well, you got to ask yourself, with 40-some million people on food stamps, what's so wealthy about the country? I mean, this is.
No, I was.
It's
looking
obviously not, and they'll come right out and say, "Well, the top 2%, they're doing fine. These people are all in the bottom 98%."
Well, and yeah, but that's
Too many Americans are being left behind. Okay. Moving along to another thing here. Let's just see here. Ilhan Omar splits with her husband and moves into a luxury penthouse as she heads for her second divorce with the father of 3 children. Now, I only bring this up. Well, why? Is this news?
Yeah.
I guess. The only reason it's news is they say it's because apparently she's moved to some real super ritzy penthouse, something in where her district.
She's making 150 grand or whatever.
175 actually, yeah. So the father of her three children heading for a second divorce. Okay, forget it. That's
yeah, and then there's the whole immigration thing. I mean, I don't care if she married her whole freaking
the other big
family.
News, right. That's enough. That's right.
They'll figure it out.
The other big news, so to speak, is apparently the feds have decided to start executing people.
Yes, I saw this.
Now, this was for the 4 of the 5 men to be killed by the federal government since 2003.
The first guy is going to be a white supremacist.
Huh? You're right. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So this is Trump's cover.
I see.
He's going to kill. Somebody's going to take one for the team, I guess.
Oh, yeah, the whites. Well, when you read about what these guys, you understand they've been on death row for 20 years.
Maybe.
No, at least. I mean,
okay.
And I mean, it's been forever. And what they were when you talk about what they were convicted of, we're talking
horrible,
heinous. It's heinous is the new. Let me put it this way: it makes the heinous look good.
Yeah, seriously.
What these guys did. I mean, it's just horrible. And they're living off our dime.
Well, yeah, at 50 grand a year. But the problem with the death penalty is you don't know what it does.
You mean the deterrent part?
Well, no, I mean it does. It does provide some deterrent. I mean, it provides ultimate deterrent for the actual person.
Exactly, that's the whole.
Okay,
thing.
that's number one that it does do. You got to admit that, and it provides a big deterrent for other people who are thinking about doing heinous crimes.
I don't know.
It does. It does.
You think so?
Yeah, statistically, they ask people, what are you afraid of? They're afraid of the death penalty. I mean, it's one thing to do some time. You can kind of convince yourself, hey, I'm just doing some time, but the death penalty is like, eee.
Well, the bad thing I think about the death penalty more than anything is the anticipation. I mean, you got 10, 15 years of anticipation when you don't know.
It's bad. And look, let's face it.
That's what they do in Japan, isn't it?
What?
They don't tell you when they're going to do it.
They don't tell you? I don't know.
No, that's what I heard, that they just show up at your door one day and say, now today's your day.
Today's your day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be
hideous. But the problem with the death penalty is we don't know what it does to them specifically. I mean, look, we're a nation of Christians. If that's correct, I mean, 96% or something, if people are right, then all he's got to do is say a couple of Hail Marys and whatever, and he's in right then. He goes straight into the pearly gates. Okay. But look, all right. But look, everybody,
as Jim Gaffigan says, is that a gated community?
The thing is, of course, everybody's convinced themselves that this guy is going to hell.
Yeah.
Like these guys. If we're going to execute somebody, those are the people going to hell. So it's not so bad. But then, of course, we've executed some innocent people, right?
I do.
Oh yeah. We've definitely executed some innocent people. Can you imagine being that guy?
Well, you're not that guy very long.
No, well, I mean, you're that guy for 20 years or whatever, and then you get executed, and it's incredible. And the other thing is that nobody can say, like you've had the guy for 20 years, you can't fix him.
Ooh, I don't know about that.
Well, I do.
Especially where you're holding them.
Well, that's part of the issue. Is if you're not planning on rehabbing them, you don't put any effort into it. I was reading it, huh?
They don't.
Well, exactly. And so, I mean, I was reading I can't remember what country it was, but some kind of program whereby the offenders could read books and take tests and earn days off of their sentence.
That may be. Of course, when you look at the jail system, for instance, in Norway, it's totally different. It's like they're, they
they have a maximum sentence of like 20 years.
Well, not only that, they live in a regular house just about.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, yeah. It's really.
But there's 5 million people in Norway.
That's right.
And they're all, the same. They're all cousins or whatever. So
this is not. This is not West Virginia, for God's sakes.
So.
No offense.
Right. No, but look, my thought is it is the wrong way to go. We should have, even for these guys, should have like a 20-year plan. You don't want people dying in prison. If you can't rehab them in 20 years, no, I would have an exception for the criminally insane. I mean, and you would have a competency rule. If the person can't deal with reality, then they can't deal with reality.
You can say what you want, but when I read what these guys did, they're insane.
Well, probably. Most of them are. I would say
just
that.
by their actions. You don't need a psychologist to do that.
Well, and so it's a no-brainer when it comes to holding them indefinitely, and that's the way that I would imagine it would be in most cases. But in some cases, you'd have rehab and whatever. But
you can say what you want. I tell you what. Maybe. I think the rehab business is for some pretty minor stuff. You start slashing and cutting and everything like that. Rehab is now if it happens to be a local thing, like if it's your girlfriend or an emotional thing,
and that's what
it
usually is.
Yeah.
It's usually you killed the one person that you're going to kill.
Yeah.
And but I mean, so I mean, there's 20 years involved. I mean, from my perspective, but
that's a lot.
That's a lot. A lot can happen in that amount of time.
Okay. The other thing which we probably want to revisit a little bit, just for a few minutes. I don't know how much we talked about this. Was the Mueller hearing? The testimony.
Okay.
Of course, he delayed. Now there were two things here. Either he was really smart and delayed everything off, and because everybody was saying he looked like a blithering idiot. Mm-hmm. What is this guy? He's senile. He's he kept asking to repeat the questions, all this delaying tactic and so forth, and it's in the thing, and he used these words, not in my purview 100 times or whatever it is. And the thing, a lot of people thought that this was really a horrible backfire on the Democrats. They thought they were going to find the smoking gun, that he was going to come in and say, well, I didn't have it all in the report, but what I meant to say was, this guy should,
what they said, they wanted him to say, what I said was, he can be prosecuted, we just can't do it right now because he's still president.
Right, or something along those, whatever it was. But it's always in the reports. Now, the other thing is that I'm thinking he was smart enough just to go ahead and babble along like this, just to get out of there. No,
what happened?
He's going to go home. He's going to go to Maine on his pension.
Well, right, and he knows that, and that's fine. Look, here, what happened here is, what you saw here was the intersection of a tactician, a regular, normal lawyer guy, and the politicians. So, the tactician guy just does what he does. He just does his job. He's been doing this job for 20, 30 years, whatever it is. So, you can imagine how rote it becomes. Not only is he in a rote job, but it's a government job. He's the top guy. He probably signs a few things here and there, and everything else just flows smoothly. He shows up for the cocktail party and stuff like that. I mean, that's what the top guys in those positions do. The guy down here who's the state attorney.
Yeah.
He's not prosecuting cases.
Oh yeah, it's the assistants.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And so what does he do? They might be. He doesn't even know, because he's not prosecuting the cases. He hired him at some point, probably for some political reason, and maybe they're good, maybe they're not. Now, they picked Bob Mueller because he had a reputation as well, whatever. I've heard it all. I've heard about every different type of guy like that. The point is he's a regular old lawyer, okay? Now, what that means is he doesn't know the game. He doesn't know the political hill game. He doesn't know what the dance that they want him to do. And he's just not going to do that dance. He's going to go in and just answer the questions, like if you called Sergeant Friday up there and said, what are the answers to these questions? No ma'am, no ma'am, yes ma'am, no ma'am. Is that in the report? Please refer to the report, page 7, ma'am. I mean, that's what you get. That's what you get from this kind of a guy. And I listened to some of their questions. Their questions they were designed to elicit particularly damaging responses and things like that. And he just wasn't playing that game. I don't even know if he even saw it coming. He was just thinking, look, I'm just going to answer in the most minimalist way possible, because that's what you do when you're a lawyer and you're getting questioned about anything. You be a lawyer, which is you don't answer when you don't have to. And when you do have to, you say the least amount that you can get away with. And so that's what he did. And so the repeat the question stuff, I mean, they had fumbling questions. Their questions talked over one another. They had presumptive things in their questions, just the stuff that you would expect politicians to do when they ask their questions.
Okay, well, maybe you're right then. I figured this was, that maybe this was a way just to get out without having any more questions.
Well, that's what a lawyer does.
He said up front, he said, I don't want to testify.
Right.
So,
and he not only that, but he sent them what he thought was the big clue, which is he wrote it all up in the report, and he said, listen, this is what you get. And if they read the report and they read his stuff, and they were lawyers especially, they should have seen all the extra stuff he put in those legal documents that was simply just character assassination on the president. And I mean, when I read the legal documents, I knew right away. It's like, okay, you don't have to have any of this stuff to legally do what you're trying to do. That means you're playing to some crowd. And the crowd he's playing to was the public. He wanted to softball the Congress so that they would do an impeachment. And they didn't hit it. They didn't get the ball. It wasn't enough for them. And so they wanted him to come in and pitch right to them.
Yeah.
And he was like, look, this is what you get,
Well, it's interesting because they're not giving up. The House Democrats backed subpoenas for Ivanka and Jared private emails. The House Oversight Committee, along party lines, as you expect, they authorized subpoenas for personal emails and texts used for official business by top White House aides, including Ivanka Trump and her husband, Jared Kushner. And, interesting enough, who was doing this? It was Elijah Cummings of Maryland.
I saw that.
Yeah, the panel's chairman and the committee has obtained direct evidence that the president's daughter, Kushner, and other top aides were using personal accounts for official business in violation of the thing. And of course, I love this because it was direct evidence. And I wonder, of course, what I'm wondering is if the direct evidence is the same stuff as the indisputable evidence that Mr. Pencil Neck guy, what's his name? Adam Schiff.
Well, the question is,
he had in his back pocket, right like McCarthy, I have the names of the communists.
Indisputable evidence is pretty good. Direct evidence is pretty good. Neither of those is conclusive proof. And if they had something that was conclusive evidence, they would have said conclusive evidence.
Okay.
So direct evidence is, we got Jared talking on the phone. Indisputable, same thing. We got one incident which is indisputable. The evidence is indisputable. Now, the implication of that evidence is... So that's what they say. These are the undisputed facts. This happened. We have a communication from Jared to X official on his telephone. And then they'll be like, well, yeah, but that was about a tennis date. Yeah, but at the tennis game, they discussed Russia. That's the way that goes.
Okay.
So,
well, I thought it's interesting that they're not letting all this drop. I mean, they're subpoenaing all this stuff, and what do they expect to get out of this? I mean, anything. Like
you said, there's a certain crowd out there. The progressive side of the Democratic Party believes that any move towards impeachment is good advertising for them, and especially if they. And I know statistics in the last time Clinton was impeached. It was apparently a negative for the Republicans at the end of the day. But that's one instance. It's so anecdotal. I don't think you can claim that if they impeached Trump that it would necessarily be a negative for the Republicans.
I don't think it would be. I don't think it would be.
I don't either. I think it. No. I mean, I do think it would be a negative for the Republicans. I think it would be because I think they could then say the impeached president. They could substitute that for racist every time they say the racist president.
Well, yes,
they could say the impeached racist President Trump.
So the question you're going to ask yourself is, of the 435 House members that have to run in about a year and a half to be reelected or elected, so to speak. how are the Republicans going to run if Trump has been, impeached?
Well, at this point, I think you can run to the right of him economically. You can say he is calling for the exact same policies that Barack Obama called for. That is fiscal spending out the wazoo and monetary easing to beat the band. I mean, the two economic policies started by George W. Bush, continued by Barack Obama, and now Trump has adopted them. They're clearly, by any normal measure, that's not Austrian, that's not Chicago School of Economics, that is Keynesianism through and through. So
tax and spend.
Tax and spend.
Borrow and spend.
Borrow, yeah, not even borrow and not even tax, whatever. I mean, either way, it's all bad. So you could certainly run to the right of him on those issues.
We've seen this happen before, of course, where they'll run on anything just to get elected. You know that.
Yeah, well, it's these days, I think for the last 30, 40 years, it's just been change.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was interesting. One thing that they're starting to get all over Mitch McConnell. They're calling him Putin Mitch or something. They've got names for him now.
Because he did what?
I don't know. I forget. Okay. There are a couple things here. The Neil Armstrong died. Is that right?
That was a while back.
A while back. Well, what happened was apparently his heirs are suing the hospital because they think that there was malfeasance or something. Now the heirs have sold off a bunch of his stuff for millions. Some of his collective stuff. He died in 2012, officially down to complications arising from heart surgery. But apparently now they're revisiting this, and they're working on this whole thing. I don't know what the deal is on this. I don't know why exactly I put this in here. It probably didn't mean a lot. 93 pages of documents recalling a dispute between the family and the small Ohio hospital. Apparently they're thinking, we think you might have killed him.
You killed him. If you had died at Area 51, I would be more suspicious.
That's right. Okay, the other thing that happened, it was not really newsworthy, it was kind of fun, was Trump got up there to give a talk, and guess what happened? They had the seal in back of him. The presidential seal, only it wasn't the presidential seal.
Somebody had switched it out.
They had switched it out, and in fact, it was like a Russian seal. It looked like, it was only up there for a couple of seconds, maybe 20 seconds or something. Long enough. There was something different about the seal. The national symbol was replaced by a two-headed eagle, which is the Russian seal, part of their seal, and a clutch instead of the olive branch or whatever, it had golf clubs.
I'm surprised Trump didn't turn around and say, "You see, now the two heads represent."
Yeah, but I mean, an E pluribus unum had been replaced by, 45 es un titere or whatever it is, which is a puppet. The number 45 is a puppet, and it was done by Turning Point. Is the one that now Turning Point's kind of a conservative outfit. They do conservative stuff, but it was interesting. It was one of their employees who said, "Well, I was just messing around with it, And the next thing it was like a meme. Apparently, it went viral.
Sure.
Anyway, and then it showed up in back of Trump for a little while until they could figure it out. But it was, I thought it was funny as hell. And of course, they fired the guy.
Good prank.
Oh, yeah. It was a great one. But they fired the guy. And as they said, well, it wasn't malicious. And it wasn't. I mean, and I read the comments, and all the comments were, this was a hoot. Why, this is hysterical. I mean, this is, and we're not talking about racism or anything. Right. They just thought it was a real hoot that somebody had come up with this that was, pretty much.
I'm in.
Yeah, I'm in too. Okay, the next item I've got is about our IRS. See what I'm doing here? We're moving along. The IRS issues a warning to 10,000 people about crypto investors. Now, what they did is they went to Coinbase, I guess, or one of the, and they subpoenaed their records on people that were trading bitcoins, I guess, cryptocurrencies. And the Internal Revenue says, well, we're targeting these as you're doing this investing, and if you're making any money on it, we want our share. So they've started to do now. It's 10,000 people, which actually, when you consider how many people own bitcoins, is a drop in the bucket. I mean, I'm guessing a couple of million easy that own some portion of bitcoins.
Maybe.
Oh yeah, I mean, gotta be. They warned that digital coin traders may have failed to report their investments properly. Now, anybody that thinks that's an investment, it seems to me, we're talking about rank speculation here. We're talking about the Holland tulip thing. I mean,
They better be careful too, because doesn't that mean people can write off their investment losses?
again, on and on. That's right. So they may owe money to the government as a result. Well, as one person said, one of the little minor problems they got, and this we talked about this last time, has to do with the inheritance business, and that is what they want to do is they want to tax you on the gross amount, and then if it tanks, you still have to pay the tax on the max, and you might not have the money. And they don't care. So you go to jail, whatever. So anyway, they're focused on enforcing the law and helping taxpayers fully understand and meet their obligations. And that's the last thing you need is help from the IRS, as far as I'm concerned. So they can amend their past returns, pay back taxes and interest and penalties. So, like you're really going to want to do that. Last year, Coinbase was ordered by a federal court to divulge thousands of accounts requested by the tax agency. So the crypto business, I would imagine this revenue people in most of the countries now are going to look at this, and of course they've had hearings on the Libra already in DC, and they're not sure what they can do about that, if anything. So
they can do a lot of stuff, and they will. The U.S.,
think?
yeah, they're just getting ramped up in terms of official involvement in cryptocurrency.
Okay, well, as soon as the thing about it is the cryptocurrencies. Of course, what's happened is as soon as it makes a dent in any of their income, you can bet that they perceive as a dent. They're going to go after it. And of course, it's interesting because here locally, for instance, as you know, when we park cars on our lawn for the games.
What?
Yeah. And they want to charge us $50 for a permit to do that. Well, in the overall scheme of the budget for the city, it's a rounding error. I mean, everybody that parks cars. So, but I'm saying that if they start to go after these crypto people because they owe, I don't know, $1,000 or something like that, this is a show of force for who knows what. But it's interesting because I saw where the cryptos flash crash overnight, and they this is post Libra. Another ugly oversight session in cryptos and a sudden high volume collapse. And started yesterday, I guess, sometime, driving Bitcoin down towards 9,000 because it was over 10,000. So I'm not sure you'd call this an investment.
This is wild gambling. It's great fun though. Buy some, get some silver.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Well, speaking of silver, my last thing I've got here before I quit is Trump's Fed Pick is to push for is a woman who likes gold.
Okay.
Decades after the U.S. abandoned its policy of tying the dollar value to gold, President Donald Trump's latest pick for the Federal Reserve, Judy Shelton, wants to bring it back into style. Not really. I mean, this was the headline.
Yeah.
Shelton's longtime promotion of return to the gold standard is so out of the mainstream that it's likely to be an obstacle in Senate confirmation. The Senate's going to say, wait a minute, you really want to go back to the gold standard? We don't want to, so we're not going to confirm you. And of course, the fact is that you can't go back to a gold standard in a way unless gold was, I don't know, $50,000 an ounce or something. I mean, you could, and that would, as far as I'm concerned, there's some people that might get hurt, and they're going to get hurt anyway when the crash comes. But I thought it was interesting that this article went on to say she has touted the gold standard in the past, but she's really not tied to it that much. This is kind of an offhand remark or something, and so they're certainly, when they vote to confirm her, they're going to maybe bring that up. But the last thing the government wants is to have a gold standard because they would be reined in.
Yeah, and it's certainly been poo-pooed since, for decades and decades.
Well, it was interesting because, in a way, because in 1933 or whenever it was, March, it was right after...
33.
Huh?
March 3rd, 33.
March 30. That's when the executive order, Roosevelt said, okay, no more gold. You can't own gold anymore except unless it's jewelry or valuable, some kind of other valuable. But the coins, you have to turn in all your coins. A lot of people did. And so, but the gold standard was still in effect internationally.
Right.
And that is when, in 1968 or so, when
I thought it was 72.
Just a minute. What happened was, along the late 60s, France was getting to be no friend of ours. It was de Gaulle. And they decided they wanted their gold because people like me and everybody else had been going over to France and spending money like crazy. And they were stacked up with dollars in France. And so they said, we're going to cash in. We want our gold. And so they started making demands on the Fed Treasury and everything, and just ship it on over here. I mean, there was billions of dollars that were floating around over in France that they were worried were going to become somewhat worthless. So, come 1971, Nixon says no mas, and quote, close the gold window. What it's interesting, because the inflation in the United States had been kind of cruising along, and it peaked up just before, in the late 60s, starting around 65, inflation started to really go up, and that's when the French wanted their gold, because they saw their dollars depreciating. Mm-hmm. And that's when Nixon said, nope, we're not going to give it to you, too bad. And from that on, if you track the inflation in the United States from the day they closed the gold window to today, it just was almost straight up.
It's not looking good.
No, it's not. There's no. So anyway, everybody go for the Libra.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, I'm pretty much done. That's about much more what I had.
Oh, look at that, coming in early.
Yeah.
I got a couple of things, but not too many here. Let's just see. All right. Oh, let's see. We did that. Real quick. The lawsuit by the Kentucky teen, the smiling Kentucky teen.
Yes, thrown out.
Yeah.
Was that right or wrong?
Well,
it was a libel thing, right?
Yeah.
$6 million or something?
250 million.
Oh, well,
yeah.
That was strong.
Yeah, exactly. That's what makes me think it was probably okay that they threw it out. They should have done something a little bit lesser. There's plenty of people I think he could sue.
Now, just to refresh, this was the kid who was smirking, so they thought.
Right.
And CNN and the newspapers and all picked up this picture of him smirking, and they accused him of all kinds of racism and everything. And apparently there were threats made on his family.
Right.
Death. I mean, everything. And it was a life-changing event for him and his family.
For sure.
When of course it had nothing. It was totally wrong. It was absolutely wrong. And all they had to do was all the media had to do, if they had just done a little bit of investigation, and never would have run these stories.
Right, and that's pretty much what they found. I think what the lawsuit alleged was that somebody, in fact, knew that the story was what it was,
bogus.
And then went ahead and pushed it anyway. And that can happen after being notified by the kid. That is, the kid can call up the Washington Post or whatever and say, listen, that didn't right, get your facts straight, that kind of thing. But for whatever reason, at least against the Washington Post, it wasn't strong enough to hold water. But I gotta believe that there were some of the people in the net that they cast that got wound up in it somehow or another, such that the kid is probably going to be fine. And of course, he can parlay his fame into whatever he needs to. So
yeah. Well, it is. Of course, it was. I saw at least one or two people that I sort of respect said, this was an incredible victory for the First Amendment, and never should have been brought in the first place. The newspapers, they do this stuff, First Amendment, blah blah blah, and
maybe.
Well, yeah,
maybe. John Mcafee was picked up in the Dominican Republic.
Really?
Yeah. And
he wasn't drinking the booze there?
I don't know what he was doing, but apparently he was brought to the UK somehow.
Really?
And apparently he snuck a cell phone into jail. I don't know what's going on with this guy. It's just funny. I mean, there's funny things happening with him. And
is he going to run for president?
He is. Yeah, I think he's on the list. He's on the list. So one of our presidential candidates is in prison in Britain or jail.
Now, you do understand that Mcafee is the guy who invented the
virus
protection for the IBM PC and made a fortune on doing it. And then they accused him, I think, in Costa Rica or someplace down there somewhere in Central America of killing somebody, Belize maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
And he was on the run for a while.
He posted a picture on his Twitter account like a week ago of him on a boat with a couple of assault rifles and his girl.
And then they picked him up.
Yeah.
One of the things I don't think you want to do, generally speaking, because I saw this just recently, there was, I might have been in the UK, where some kids went and beat the crap out of somebody, put it all on the damn Facebook page or whatever, and are wondering why they're being arrested.
Yeah, we've been saying that for a while.
But I mean, you know,
criminals usually aren't the
not the
brightest.
sharpest tack in the...
Yeah, but you know, you got to think somebody like that. It's why he would be tempting them like that by posting things. But maybe that's all part of his plan. He's got something going with crypto and Cuba, and you know, who knows?
He's really around. So anyway, but how do you smuggle a cell phone into the?
He said he did it with sleight of hand. Yeah, you don't see the cell phone.
Yeah, that's right. This is not the cell phone you're looking for.
That's right. So I don't know, but just.
So are they going to extradite him here to the U.S. or what? What's the crime? What are they accusing him of?
I don't know.
Wait a
Probably
minute, this
some
is
kind of
story.
tax evasion or something, bro.
In England?
I'm guessing. Just a guess.
God, thanks a lot for that. You know, wait a minute, you bring this story up and you're
Google
not...
it, man. No. Well, the story was about that he got picked up and that he was being.
Yeah, okay, but I mean, you're
No,
like an
why?
attorney. What for? You're gonna be charged. They don't just pick you up. They don't snatch you.
Well, I think this is the guy who's been running around doing a bunch of stuff. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I think there's more
They
to it.
picked him up for doing a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
Okay.
it was, technically.
Technically, right.
And we'll check into it and have a report next time.
Okay, yeah, right. Thanks. Yeah, good.
All right, that is all I've got too. So we are checking in early this time.
Checking out early. Let me just make sure I didn't. Let me just make absolutely sure that I didn't leave something out.
Mm-hmm.
No. Oh, well, there is one other little thing.
Too
And that-
late? No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Okay. Russia warns of consequences after Ukraine seizes a tanker, and this is the tanker wars continue. I mean, what's going on over there? People are seizing tankers all over the place, and Ukraine, which is used to be part of Russia, seized a Russian tanker. Said it was used in a naval confrontation last November in some kind of prisoner swamp, something or other. Moscow responded by threatening Kiev with unspecified consequences. Although it later confirmed the tanker crew had been released without charge.
What are they going to do?
I don't know.
Rile up the rebels in the eastern part of the country?
I don't, this
They're
is...
going to interfere with their elections? I don't know. Hey,
there was, speaking of that, by the way, while we're listening to the music here,
Sure.
there was a report from the Congress Intelligence Committee that said that the Russians had interfered in all 50 state elections. I mean, this was so bogus you cannot believe it. I don't know who came up with this. But
Well, look, all they have to do is send out one email blast.
they were saying that it really affected it. They wanted to know all about. I mean, this was the, off the wall.
No, look, when they say something like, there's
They tampered.
indisputable proof,
Right.
that
They tampered with the elections in all 50 states.
yeah, that literally could mean they sent out a blast email that could have been seen in all 50 states.
Well, the
Something
idea
that
from this
tiny.
was that somehow they had infiltrated the little punch card machines or something. I mean, so that when you
Yeah,
put your
right.
So like what Homer did when he kept trying to vote for somebody.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, that's not what it was.
Okay.
We're talking
All right.
super minor. Otherwise, they would have done something. They would have called it back. Do over.
Yeah, do over, right.
So, anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll be back on Wednesday, live right here, no net. We have an audio. We post this up on Apple Podcasts and Luminary and Libsyn and Spotify and SoundCloud. So find us at those places. Thanks, Gene. We appreciate it. Woohoo! And thanks everybody else for joining us. Thanks for helping us make sure that we were up. Still got no picture on this end. So, hey, going out audio over the seas. So, we'll be back. We'll see you then.
We'll see what kind of news transpires between now and Wednesday. Probably just more racist news.